The Healing Mind, Audiobook. Right now, somewhere inside you, there is a tightness you have carried for so long that you barely notice it anymore. A heaviness in your chest, a mind that will not stop racing, even when you are exhausted and just want to rest. You lie awake, replaying things you cannot change. You wake up already tired, and a quiet part of you wonders if you will ever feel calm again. I want you to know something. You can, and it does not take years. Give me a few minutes, and I will walk with you through 10 simple things that can settle your mind and begin healing what hurts. No complicated steps, no pretending, just real, honest guidance you can actually use starting today. Stay with me. By the end, you will breathe easier. Something inside you is about to loosen its grip. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Breathe slowly and release the tension inside you. Right now, before you read another word, notice how you are breathing. Most likely your breath is shallow. It sits high in your chest, quick and tight, as if some part of you is bracing for a blow that never quite lands. This is how most people breathe for most of their lives. They move through their days holding a low, constant tension in the body, and they never once stop to ask why. They have simply grown used to it. The tightness in the shoulders, the clenched jaw, the stomach that never fully relaxes, the breath that never reaches the bottom of the lungs. These things become so normal that a person forgets there was ever another way to live. And so the first thing worth understanding is this: the tension you carry is not who you are, it is something you are doing, and anything you are doing, you can learn to stop. Take a slow breath now. Draw the air in through your nose and let it travel all the way down, past your chest, into your belly, so that your stomach gently rises. Hold it for a moment, then let it out slowly, longer on the way out than on the way in. Do this once, and already something in your body begins to change. The heart, which races when you are anxious, starts to slow. The muscles that have been quietly gripping all day begin to loosen their hold. This is not magic, and it is not a trick. It is simply the way your body was designed to work. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you send a signal to the oldest part of your nervous system, a signal that says the danger has passed, that it is safe now, that you may rest. Your body has been waiting your whole life to receive that signal more often. Most people never give it. Think about what happens in a moment of fear. Your breath becomes short and fast. Your body floods with energy meant to help you run or fight. This response saved your ancestors from real threats, from predators and enemies and storms. But the problem in the modern world is that this same ancient alarm goes off for things that are not truly dangerous. A difficult email, a harsh word from someone you love, a bill you cannot yet pay, a memory that surfaces without warning. Your body cannot tell the difference between a lion in the grass and a worry in your mind. It responds to both the same way, by tightening, by speeding up, by preparing for battle. And when the worry does not go away, as worries often do not, the alarm keeps ringing, quietly, all day long. This is the tension you carry. It is a fire alarm that never gets switched off. The slow breath is how you switch it off. This is the doorway back to calm, and it is always available to you. You do not need to buy anything. You do not need to go anywhere. You do not need anyone's permission. Wherever you are, in a crowded room or a quiet one, in the middle of a hard day or the start of a good one, you carry with you the single most powerful tool for calming your own mind. You carry your breath. And the remarkable thing is that breathing is the one function of your body that works automatically, but that you can also control on purpose. Your heart beats without your command, your blood moves without your effort, but your breath belongs to both worlds. It runs on its own, and yet you can take the wheel whenever you choose. This is the bridge between the part of you that worries and the part of you that can find peace. Let me give you something you can use immediately, something simple enough to remember and powerful enough to change your day. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4. Hold that breath gently for a count of 4, then release it slowly for a count of 6. The longer exhale is the key. When you make the out-breath longer than the in-breath, you deepen the message of safety to your nervous system. Do this 4 or 5 times in a row, and you will feel the shift. The tightness in your chest begins to soften. The noise in your mind grows quieter. The world, which a moment ago felt like it was pressing in on you, takes a small step back and gives you room to stand. Practice this in calm moments so that it becomes familiar, and then it will be there for you in the hard ones. There is deep wisdom here that reaches back thousands of years. The ancient thinkers understood that a person cannot always control what happens to them, but they can learn to control how they meet it. A storm will come. Loss will come. Insult and hardship and disappointment will come, as they come to every human being who has ever lived. You cannot prevent the storm, but you can decide whether you face it with a tight, panicked breath or a slow, steady one. The person who has learned to breathe through difficulty is not weaker than the storm. They are stronger than it, because they are no longer at its mercy. The storm rages outside, but inside there is a still center that the storm cannot reach. Your breath is the path to that center. Consider how much of your suffering comes not from events themselves, but from the tension you add to them. Something goes wrong, and immediately your body clenches, your breath goes shallow, your mind races ahead into every terrible thing that might follow. The original problem might have been small, a minor setback, an inconvenience, but the tension multiplies it. You are no longer dealing with the thing that happened. You are dealing with your body's alarm about the thing that happened, and that alarm makes everything harder to think through, harder to solve, harder to bear. When you slow your breath, you break this chain. You separate the problem from your panic about the problem, and suddenly the problem, seen clearly through calm eyes, is almost always smaller than it seemed. Make this a practice, not just an idea. Choose 3 moments in your day and tie the slow breath to them. When you wake, before you reach for your phone, take 5 slow breaths and set the tone for your day. When you sit down to eat, pause and breathe before the first bite, returning yourself to the present. And when you lie down at night, let your final act before sleep be a series of long, slow breaths that release the day from your body. These 3 anchors will begin to retrain your nervous system. Over time, the calm you find in these moments will start to spread into the rest of your life. You will notice yourself breathing more deeply without trying. You will catch the tension earlier, before it takes hold. You will become, slowly and surely, a calmer person, not because your life has become easier, but because you have become stronger. Notice your body as you breathe. Feel where the tension lives. For many people, it gathers in the shoulders, pulled up toward the ears as if trying to protect the neck. For others, it sits in the jaw, teeth pressed together through the day and even through the night. For some, it lives in the belly, held tight and never allowed to soften. As you breathe slowly, gently invite these places to let go. On each exhale, imagine the tension flowing out of you, leaving your shoulders to drop, your jaw to loosen, your stomach to relax. You are not forcing anything. You are simply giving your body permission to release what it has been holding for far too long. This is a gift you can give yourself many times a day, and it costs you nothing but a few moments of attention. Understand that calm is not something you find once and keep forever. It is something you return to, again and again, like coming home. The mind will wander back into worry. The body will tighten again under new pressures. This is not failure. This is simply being human. The practice is not to never lose your calm. The practice is to know the way back, and to walk that way as many times as it takes. Every time you take a slow breath and release the tension inside you, you are strengthening that path home. You are teaching yourself that no matter how far you drift into stress and fear, you always know how to return. And that knowledge, carried in your own body, is a kind of freedom that no one can take from you. So begin here. Begin with the breath. Before you try to fix your life, before you try to change your habits, or heal your heart, or calm your racing thoughts, begin with this one simple thing that is always within your reach. Breathe slowly. Release the tension. Let your body remember what it feels like to be at ease. Everything else you will learn in the pages ahead rests on this foundation. A calm body makes a calm mind possible. A calm mind makes a healed life possible. And it all starts with the next breath you take. Take it now, slowly, deeply, all the way down, and feel, even in this small moment, how much lighter you can become. There is one more thing worth understanding about the breath, and it may be the most encouraging of all. This tool never wears out and never abandons you. Other sources of comfort can be taken away. A quiet room can become noisy. A supportive person can leave. A peaceful season can turn hard. But your breath goes with you everywhere, into every room, every hardship, every sleepless night. It is with you when you are surrounded by people and when you are utterly alone. It asks nothing of you and is always ready the instant you turn your attention to it. When you truly grasp this, a deep security settles into you. You realize that no matter what happens, no matter where life takes you, you carry within your own body a reliable path back to calm. You are never truly without help, because help is as close as your next inhalation. This is a quiet kind of strength, and it belongs to you alone for the whole of your life. Consider also how the breath connects you to the present moment, which is the only place calm can actually be found. You cannot breathe in the past. You cannot breathe in the future. You can only breathe now, in this exact moment, so every time you bring your attention to your breath, you are also bringing yourself into the present, out of the worried future and the painful past, and into the one place where life is actually happening. This is why the breath is so healing. It does two things at once. It calms the body through its slow rhythm, and it anchors the mind in the present through its constant presence. When you feel scattered, lost in 1,000 anxious thoughts, the breath gathers you back together and sets you down gently in the here and now. Practice returning to it not only when you are stressed, but throughout ordinary moments, and you will find yourself living more and more in the present, where peace has always been waiting for you. Chapter 2. Quiet. Your racing thoughts before they control you. There is a kind of noise that no one else can hear. It is the noise inside your own head, the endless stream of thoughts that runs from the moment you wake until the moment you finally fall asleep, and sometimes even into your dreams. For many people, this stream never slows. Thought follows thought follows thought, most of them uninvited, many of them unkind, a great many of them about things that have not happened and may never happen at all. You replay conversations from years ago. You rehearse arguments you will never have. You imagine disasters in vivid detail. You judge yourself, criticize yourself, worry about what others think, plan and replan, and worry again. This is the racing mind, and if you do not learn to quiet it, it will run your life. It will steal your peace in the present and fill your future with fears that exist only in your imagination. Here is the first thing you must understand, and it may be the most important idea in this entire chapter. You are not your thoughts. The thoughts arise in your mind, but you are the one who notices them. There is a part of you that thinks, and there is a part of you that is aware of the thinking. These are not the same. When you realize this, everything begins to change, because if you were your thoughts, you would be trapped by them, carried along wherever they went, helpless. But since you are the one who watches the thoughts, you have a choice. You can step back from them. You can observe them without being swept away. You can let them pass through you, like clouds crossing the sky, without believing that every cloud is the truth, and without chasing after each one. Most of the power that your racing thoughts hold over you comes from a single mistake. You believe them. A thought arises that says you are not good enough, and you take it as fact. A thought arises that says everything is going to fall apart, and you accept it without question. A thought arises that says someone is angry with you, or that you have failed, or that the future is hopeless, and you treat it as a report from reality rather than what it actually is, which is just a thought, one of the thousands your mind produces every day, many of them wrong. The mind is not a truth machine, it is a thought machine. It generates thoughts the way a fire generates sparks, constantly, automatically, without concern for whether any particular spark is useful or accurate. Your job is not to believe every spark. Your job is to watch the fire without letting it burn down your house. So how do you quiet a racing mind? The answer is not to fight it. If you try to force your thoughts to stop, you will fail, and the failure will only add more thoughts, more frustration, more noise. Trying not to think is like trying to smooth water with your hand. The more you push, the more it churns. Instead of fighting your thoughts, you learn to change your relationship with them. You stop treating them as commands you must obey, and start treating them as suggestions you may consider or ignore. When a worried thought arises, you notice it. You might even say to yourself, quietly, there is a worried thought. Not, I am in danger, but there is a thought about danger. This small shift in language creates a small space between you and the thought, and in that space lives your freedom. Return to your breath, because the breath and the mind are deeply connected. When your thoughts race, your breath quickens, and when your breath quickens, your thoughts race faster still. They feed each other, but you can break the cycle from either side. Slow the breath, and the mind begins to slow with it. This is why the practice of the previous chapter matters so much here. When you feel your thoughts spinning out of control, spiraling into worry and fear, come back to a slow, deep breath. Put your full attention on the feeling of the air moving in and out. Your mind cannot fully attend to your breathing and race with worry at the same time. By giving your attention to the breath, you gently starve the racing thoughts of the fuel they need, which is your attention. Thoughts you do not feed grow weaker. Thoughts you feed grow stronger. Choose carefully what you feed. There is a practical exercise that helps enormously, and you can begin using it today. When your mind is racing, bring your attention fully into the present moment through your senses. Name 5 things you can see around you right now. Name 4 things you can hear. Name 3 things you can feel: the chair beneath you, the floor under your feet, the texture of your own clothing. This simple practice pulls your mind out of the imagined future and the remembered past and drops it firmly into the only place where life actually happens, which is the present moment. The racing mind lives in time that is not now. It frets over what already happened and what might happen next. But right now, in this present moment, you are almost always fine. The present moment is usually manageable. It is only when the mind runs into other times that suffering multiplies. The ancient thinkers knew this well. They taught that a person should concern themselves only with the present, because the past is gone and cannot be changed, and the future has not arrived and cannot be controlled. To worry about the past is to suffer over something already finished. To worry about the future is to suffer over something that does not yet exist and may never exist at all. The wise person lives in the present, doing what is in front of them, meeting this moment as it is. When you find your thoughts racing off into what went wrong yesterday or what might go wrong tomorrow, gently bring them back. Not with force, but with patience, the way you might guide a wandering child back to your side. Again and again, you will bring the mind home to now, and each time you do, you build the strength to do it more easily next time. Understand also that many of your racing thoughts are simply old patterns, grooves worn into your mind by years of repetition. If you have spent years worrying, worry has become a habit, and the mind reaches for it automatically the way a hand reaches for something familiar in the dark. The good news is that habits of mind can be changed, just like any other habit. Every time you notice a worried thought and choose not to follow it down its usual path, you weaken the groove a little. Every time you return to the present, instead of spiraling into fear, you carve a new and better path. This takes time. You have spent years training your mind to race. You cannot expect it to grow quiet in a single day. But with patient practice, the quiet grows. The gaps between thoughts widen. The peace that once seemed impossible becomes, little by little, your natural state. Be gentle with yourself in this work. When you notice your mind has raced away and you have been lost in worry for minutes without realizing it, do not scold yourself. The noticing itself is the victory. The moment you become aware that you were lost is the moment you are found again. Simply return, kindly, to your breath and to the present. You will have to do this hundreds of times, thousands of times. That is not a sign that you are failing. That is the practice itself. The returning is the whole point. A person who has quieted their mind is not someone whose thoughts have stopped. It is someone who has learned to return to stillness quickly and without drama, again and again, until stillness becomes the ground they stand on, rather than a place they occasionally visit. There is great freedom waiting on the other side of this practice. Imagine going through your day without the constant background noise of worry. Imagine being able to sit quietly and simply be, without your mind dragging you into fear. Imagine facing a real problem with a clear and steady mind, instead of a mind clouded by 1,000 imagined problems piled on top of the real one. This is not a fantasy. This is available to any person willing to practice. The racing mind is not a life sentence. It is a habit, and habits can change. Quiet your thoughts before they control you, and you take back the steering wheel of your own life. You decide where your attention goes. You decide which thoughts to believe and which to let pass. And in that decision lives a peace that the racing mind can never touch. Begin today. The next time you feel your thoughts starting to spin, pause. Breathe slowly. Notice that you are the one watching the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. Name what you see and hear, and feel around you. Come home to the present moment. You will not do it perfectly, and that is fine. You are learning a skill that most people never even attempt. Every time you practice, you grow stronger, and one day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will notice that the noise has softened, that the peace has grown, that you have become the calm and steady presence in your own life that you always hoped you could be. Let me leave you with a deeper understanding of why this practice matters so much for your whole life. The quality of your mind determines the quality of your experience of everything. You could have every outward good thing, and if your mind is racing with worry, you will not enjoy any of it. You could sit in the most beautiful place on earth, and a racing mind would keep you trapped in fear, unable to see the beauty in front of you. On the other hand, a person with a quiet mind can find peace and even contentment in humble circumstances, because they are actually present for their life, rather than lost in a storm of thought. Your mind is the lens through which you experience everything. A clouded, chaotic lens distorts everything you see. A clear, calm lens lets you see your life as it actually is, which is almost always far better than the racing mind would have you believe. Learning to quiet your thoughts is therefore not a small thing. It is learning to clean the very lens through which you view your entire existence. Understand, too, that a quiet mind is not an empty or dull mind. Some people fear that if they stop the constant churning of thought, they will lose their edge, their creativity, their ability to solve problems. The opposite is true. A calm mind thinks far better than a frantic one. When your thoughts are racing in panic, you cannot think clearly at all. Your best ideas, your wisest decisions, your most creative solutions come not in moments of frantic mental noise, but in moments of calm and clarity. The quiet mind is not the empty mind. It is the clear mind, the mind that can actually focus, that can hold a problem steadily and turn it over with patience, that can see connections the anxious mind is too scattered to notice. By quieting the useless racing of worry, you do not lose your mental power. You reclaim it. You free your mind from the noise so that it can do its real work, which is to think clearly and serve you well. This is why the calmest people are so often the wisest and most effective. Their quiet is not weakness. It is the ground from which their clearest thinking grows. Chapter 3. Accept your pain fully, so healing can begin. There is a strange thing that people do with their pain. They run from it. They push it down, cover it over, distract themselves from it, pretend it is not there. They fill every quiet moment with noise, so they never have to sit alone with what hurts. They stay busy, stay entertained, stay numb, all to avoid the one thing that could actually set them free, which is to turn and face the pain directly. This running seems to make sense. Pain hurts, and it is natural to move away from what hurts. But here is the truth that changes everything. The pain you refuse to face does not go away. It goes underground. It waits. And from its hidden place, it shapes your life in ways you cannot see, driving your fears, poisoning your relationships, keeping you tense and anxious and unable to rest. The only way out of pain is through it, and the doorway is acceptance. Acceptance is one of the most misunderstood words in the language of healing. When people hear it, they think it means approval. They think accepting their pain means saying the pain is good, or that what caused it was acceptable, or that they should just give up and resign themselves to suffering forever. This is not what acceptance means. Acceptance simply means acknowledging what is true. It means stopping the exhausting war against reality and admitting, honestly, that this happened, that it hurt, that the pain is here. You do not have to like it. You do not have to approve of it. You only have to stop pretending it is not real, because as long as you are spending your energy denying the pain, you have no energy left to heal it. The denial is the wall. Acceptance is the door in the wall. Think about a wound on the body. If you cut your hand and refuse to look at it, refuse to clean it, cover it up, and pretend it is fine, what happens? It festers. It grows infected. It causes far more harm hidden and ignored than it ever would have caused if you had faced it, cleaned it, and cared for it properly. Emotional pain works exactly the same way. The grief you will not grieve, the anger you will not feel, the sadness you push down again and again, all of it festers in the dark. It leaks out sideways as irritability, as anxiety, as a heaviness you cannot explain. But when you finally turn toward the pain and allow yourself to feel it fully, something remarkable happens. It begins to move. Feelings that are felt completely do not stay forever. They rise, they crest, and they pass. It is the feelings we refuse to feel that get stuck. What you resist persists. What you accept can finally flow through you and out. So how do you accept your pain? You begin by allowing yourself to feel it without running. Find a quiet moment and a safe place. Breathe slowly, as you have learned, and then, gently, turn your attention toward what hurts. Do not analyze it. Do not tell the story of it over and over. Just feel it, as a sensation in the body. Where does the pain live? Perhaps there is a heaviness in your chest, a tightness in your throat, an ache in your stomach. Let it be there. Breathe into it. Let the feeling be as big as it needs to be. You may find that tears come. Let them come. Tears are not weakness. They are the body's way of releasing what it has held too long. You may find that the pain feels overwhelming at first, like it might swallow you. It will not. Feelings cannot actually harm you, even when they are intense. They can only move through you if you let them. The ancient wisdom teaches that suffering comes not only from our pain, but from our resistance to our pain. When something painful happens, and we accept it as part of life, we suffer once, cleanly, and then we heal. But when we fight against what has happened, when we insist that it should not be so, that it is unfair, that we cannot bear it, we add a second layer of suffering on top of the first. This second layer, the resistance, often causes more misery than the original pain. A wise person learns to meet their pain with a kind of steady acceptance. Not cold, not without feeling, but without the exhausting struggle against reality. They say, in effect, this is what has happened, this is what is true now, and I will meet it as it is. This acceptance does not make them weak. It makes them unbreakable, because they are no longer wasting their strength fighting against things that cannot be changed. There is a particular kind of pain that many people carry, and it deserves special attention. It is the pain of things that cannot be undone, a loss that cannot be reversed, a mistake that cannot be taken back. A person who is gone and will not return. This pain is especially hard because there is nothing to fix, nothing to do, no action that will set it right. And so people often get stuck here, endlessly wishing the reality were different, endlessly rehearsing how things might have gone another way. But this wishing is a trap. It keeps the wound open. Healing from this kind of pain requires the deepest form of acceptance, the acceptance of what cannot be changed. It means grieving fully what was lost, feeling the sorrow completely, and then, slowly, allowing yourself to live in the world as it actually is, rather than the world you wish still existed. This is not forgetting. It is not betraying what you lost. It is honoring your own life by choosing to keep living it. Let me offer you something practical for the days when the pain feels too heavy. Do not try to accept everything at once. Acceptance is not a single act, but a practice you return to. On a hard day, simply accept this hour. Accept this moment. Say to yourself, right now, in this moment, I am hurting, and that is allowed. You do not have to heal your entire life today. You only have to get through this present moment with honesty and kindness toward yourself. Break the pain into pieces small enough to carry, and be patient. Healing is not a straight line. There will be days when you feel lighter, and days when the weight returns. This is normal. The return of pain is not a sign that you have failed to heal. It is simply the tide going out and coming back in. Trust the process. Keep breathing. Keep accepting. The overall direction, over time, is toward peace. You must also learn to be a gentle companion to yourself in your pain. Many people, when they are hurting, treat themselves with harshness. They tell themselves they should be over it by now. They compare their pain to others and decide they have no right to feel it. They add shame to their suffering, judgment on top of injury. This makes everything worse. Instead, learn to speak to yourself the way you would speak to a dear friend who was hurting. You would not tell a grieving friend to hurry up and get over it. You would not tell someone in pain that they were weak for feeling it. You would offer them patience, kindness, and the simple permission to feel what they feel. Offer yourself the same. Put your hand on your own heart if it helps. Tell yourself that it is all right to hurt, that the pain makes sense, that you are doing the best you can. This gentleness is not self-indulgence. It is the very soil in which healing grows. Understand that accepting your pain is an act of courage, perhaps the greatest courage there is. It is far easier to run, to numb, to distract, to pretend. It takes real strength to turn and face what hurts, to feel it fully, to sit with it without fleeing. Every time you do this, you become stronger. You prove to yourself that you can survive your own feelings, that the pain will not destroy you, that you are bigger than your suffering. This knowledge changes you. You stop being afraid of your own inner life. You stop needing to run. And a person who does not need to run from their pain is a free person, because pain loses its power over anyone who is willing to feel it. The thing you were so afraid of turns out to be survivable after all. And on the other side of that survival waits a peace that the runners never find. So make peace with your pain, not by approving of it, but by accepting that it is real and allowing yourself to feel it. This is where healing begins. Not in the running, not in the numbing, not in the endless distraction, but in the brave and quiet act of turning toward what hurts and saying, I see you, I feel you, and I will not abandon myself by pretending you are not here. Do this, and the pain that has ruled your life from the shadows will slowly lose its grip. It will move through you as it was always meant to, and in the space it leaves behind, something new can finally grow. Face your pain fully. It is the only way through, and through is the only way to free. There is one more truth about accepting pain that can carry you through the hardest days. The pain you feel is, in a strange way, a measure of something good. You grieve deeply because you loved deeply. You hurt over a loss because that loss mattered, because what you lost had real value to you. The depth of your pain reflects the depth of your capacity to care, and that capacity is one of the most beautiful things about being human. If you felt nothing, you would suffer nothing, but you would also be hollow, cut off from the very things that make a life worth living. So when the pain feels unbearable, remember that it is the shadow cast by your love, your care, your ability to be moved by what matters. This does not make the pain hurt less, but it can help you hold it differently, not as a curse or a sign that something is wrong with you, but as evidence of a heart that is fully alive, fully capable of caring, fully human. The people who feel deeply are the people who live deeply. Your pain is proof that you are one of them. And know this, as certainly as anything in this book, the pain will not last forever at its current intensity, even when it feels as though it might. Feelings, when they are allowed to be felt, are not permanent. They move, they change, they soften over time. The grief that feels like it will crush you today will, if you allow yourself to feel it rather than fight it, slowly become something you can carry, and then something that visits less often, and then something that lives quietly beside you rather than consuming you. This is not forgetting, and it is not betraying what you have lost. It is simply the natural process of a heart that is allowed to heal. Trust this process even when you cannot feel it working. On the days when the pain is heaviest, remind yourself that you are in the middle of something, not at the end of it, and that the middle of healing always feels harder than its later stages. Keep feeling, keep breathing, keep accepting, and slowly, in its own time, the weight will lift, and you will find that you have survived what you once thought you could not, and become deeper and stronger for having survived it. Chapter 4. Forgive yourself and free your heavy heart today. Somewhere inside you, there is very likely a list. It is not written on paper. It is written on your heart. It is the list of all the things you have done wrong, all the ways you have failed, all the mistakes you cannot seem to forgive yourself for. You carry this list everywhere. You take it out in the quiet moments and read it to yourself, reminding yourself of your failures, punishing yourself again for things that happened long ago and cannot be changed. This list is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry, and the tragedy is that you built it yourself, and you are the only one who can put it down. Self-forgiveness is not about pretending you never did anything wrong. It is about deciding to stop punishing yourself forever for being human. Every person alive has done things they regret. Every person has hurt someone, failed at something, fallen short of who they wanted to be. This is not a special flaw in you. It is the shared condition of being human. We are all learning as we go, making decisions with incomplete information, acting out of fear or ignorance or pain, and often getting it wrong. The person who has never made a serious mistake has never truly lived. But there is a great difference between people, and it is this. Some people make a mistake, learn from it, make what amends they can, and then allow themselves to move forward. Others make a mistake and then sentence themselves to a lifetime of guilt, carrying the weight of that single moment for years, punishing themselves long after everyone else has forgotten or forgiven. The first kind of person heals. The second kind of person suffers endlessly. The difference is not the mistake, the difference is forgiveness. Consider what guilt is actually for. Guilt, in its healthy form, is a signal. It tells you that you have acted against your own values, that you have hurt someone or done something you believe is wrong. This signal is useful. It moves you to apologize, to make amends, to change your behavior, to do better. This is guilt doing its proper job. But guilt was never meant to be permanent. Once it has delivered its message, once you have learned the lesson and made what repair you can, guilt has done its work and is meant to fade. The problem is that many people will not let it fade. They hold on to it, feed it, keep it alive, long past its usefulness. This is no longer healthy guilt. This is self-punishment, and it helps no one. It does not undo the past. It does not help the person you may have hurt. It only keeps you trapped, unable to move forward, unable to become the better person that your guilt was supposed to help you become. Here is a truth worth sitting with. Punishing yourself forever does not make you a good person. It does not pay back a debt. It does not honor the seriousness of what happened. It simply adds more suffering to the world, your own, for no benefit to anyone. If you truly want to make up for a wrong you have done, the way to do it is not through endless self-hatred. It is through becoming better. It is through learning the lesson so deeply that you never repeat the mistake. It is through taking the pain of your regret and letting it make you kinder, wiser, more careful with others. This is how you honor a mistake, by growing from it, not by drowning in it. The person you hurt, or the situation you failed, is not helped by your suffering. They are only helped, if help is still possible, by your changed behavior. And where help is no longer possible, your suffering serves nothing at all. To forgive yourself, you must first understand the person you were when you made the mistake. That person was not the person you are now. That person had less wisdom, less experience, less understanding. That person was doing the best they could with what they had at the time, even if what they had was not enough. When you look back at your past self with the knowledge you have now, of course you can see what they should have done differently. But they did not have your current knowledge. They could not see what you now see. Judging your past self by your present wisdom is deeply unfair. Would you condemn a child for not knowing what an adult knows? Your past self was, in a sense, a younger version of you, less developed, still learning. Look at that person with compassion rather than contempt. They were struggling too. They deserve your understanding, not your endless punishment. The ancient thinkers taught that no one does wrong on purpose, in the way we imagine. People act badly, out of ignorance, out of confusion, about what is truly good, out of being ruled by their fears and desires. When you understand this, you can look on your own past errors and the errors of others with more compassion. You were not a monster when you made your mistake. You were a confused human being, acting from limited understanding, probably in pain yourself. This does not excuse harmful actions. It does not mean consequences do not matter, but it does mean that endless self-hatred is based on a false picture of yourself as someone who did wrong out of pure malice, when the truth is almost always more human and more forgivable than that. Understand yourself, and forgiveness becomes possible. Let me give you a practice for forgiving yourself, something you can begin today. Find a quiet moment. Bring to mind the thing you cannot forgive yourself for. Feel the weight of it, the guilt, the regret. Now, speak to yourself as you would to someone you love who had made the same mistake. Acknowledge honestly that what happened was wrong or harmful, if it was. Do not skip this. Real forgiveness does not deny the wrong. But then, having acknowledged it, say to yourself, I was doing the best I could with what I understood at the time. I have learned from this. I am not the same person now. I have carried this long enough. I forgive myself, and I choose to set down this weight. You may need to say these words many times before they take root. Guilt that has lived in you for years will not always leave after one conversation, but each time you offer yourself this forgiveness, the weight grows a little lighter. There is often a fear hidden beneath the refusal to forgive oneself. It is the fear that if you forgive yourself, you will forget the lesson, that the guilt is the only thing keeping you from doing wrong again, that letting go of the punishment means letting go of your standards. But this is a mistake. You do not need to punish yourself to remember a lesson. In fact, the constant self-punishment often makes it harder to learn, because a mind consumed by shame cannot think clearly or grow freely. You can hold yourself to high standards and forgive your past failures at the same time. You can say, I will do better, without also saying, I deserve to suffer forever for having done worse. Let go of the fear that forgiveness means forgetting. You can remember the lesson while releasing the pain. In truth, that is the only way the lesson ever fully takes hold. Consider how you treat others who have wronged you and then genuinely changed. When someone hurts you, apologizes sincerely, and works to become better, most people find it in their hearts to forgive them eventually. You would likely offer this forgiveness to a friend. Why then do you withhold it from yourself? Are you not also a person capable of growth, deserving of a second chance? The harsh standard you hold yourself to, refusing yourself the forgiveness you would freely give others, is not humility. It is a kind of cruelty turned inward. You are a human being, like any other, no less deserving of compassion, no less capable of redemption. Extend to yourself the same mercy you would extend to anyone you love. You have earned it simply by being human and by being willing to grow. Freeing your heavy heart is not a single event, but a choice you may need to make again and again. Some old guilt will return, especially in low moments, whispering the familiar accusations. When it does, you do not have to argue with it or drown in it. You can simply notice it and gently return to your forgiveness. I have already set this down, you can tell yourself. I am not picking it back up. Over time, the old guilt loses its grip. The list written on your heart begins to fade. And in its place grows something far more valuable, a sense of peace with yourself, an acceptance of your own humanity, a freedom to move forward, unburdened by a past you cannot change. This is what it means to free your heavy heart, not to erase your history, but to stop being imprisoned by it. So today, make the decision, choose to forgive yourself, not because what you did not matter, but because you have carried the weight long enough, because the punishment serves no one, because you deserve to live free of a burden that only harms you. Acknowledge the past honestly, learn what it has to teach, and then, with courage and compassion, set it down. Let your heart grow light again. You have spent enough time as your own harshest judge. It is time to become, instead, your own gentle friend. Forgive yourself today. Your freedom is waiting on the other side of that choice, and it has been waiting far too long. There is a freedom that comes with self-forgiveness that is difficult to describe until you have felt it. Imagine setting down a heavy bag you have carried for so long that you forgot you were carrying it, so long that the weight came to feel like a permanent part of you. And then one day you set it down, and you feel how light you are without it, how much easier it is to move, to breathe, to stand up straight. This is what self-forgiveness feels like. The guilt you have carried has been weighing on everything, coloring your days, draining your energy, holding you back in ways you may not even have realized. When you finally forgive yourself and set that weight down, you discover a lightness you had forgotten was possible. You have more energy for the present because you are no longer spending it punishing the past. You have more room in your heart for joy, for love, for the life in front of you. This lightness is your birthright, and self-forgiveness is how you reclaim it. Remember also that forgiving yourself frees you to actually become the better person you want to be. This is perhaps the greatest gift of self-forgiveness, and the answer to the fear that letting go of guilt will make you worse. The truth is exactly the opposite. A person weighed down by shame and self-hatred has little energy left for growth. They are so busy drowning that they cannot swim toward anything better. But a person who has forgiven themselves, who has made peace with their past, is free to move forward, to grow, to build the life and the character they truly want. Guilt keeps you stuck in the past, endlessly reliving your failures. Forgiveness releases you into the future, where change is actually possible. So if you truly want to honor the person you hurt, or to make up for the mistake you made, the path is not endless self-punishment. The path is to forgive yourself, free your energy, and pour that energy into becoming someone better, someone kinder, someone who has learned and grown. That is how a mistake is redeemed, not through suffering, but through transformation. And transformation begins the moment you forgive yourself and set your heavy heart free. Chapter 5. Focus only on what you can actually change. Imagine spending your energy, day after day, trying to move something that will not move, pushing against a mountain with all your strength, straining, exhausting yourself, and at the end of the day, the mountain has not shifted an inch, and you are drained, frustrated, and no closer to anything. This is how many people live their entire lives. They pour their limited energy into things they cannot control, into the weather and the traffic and the opinions of strangers, into the past that cannot be changed and the future that cannot be commanded, into other people's choices and moods and behaviors that were never theirs to control in the first place. And they wonder why they feel so tired, so powerless, so perpetually frustrated. The answer is simple. They are pushing on mountains. The path to peace and power begins with a single distinction, one of the oldest and most important ideas in all of human wisdom. Some things are within your control. Most things are not, and your task is to know the difference. This idea is ancient, and it has freed countless people across thousands of years. It divides the whole of your experience into two categories. In the first category are the things that depend on you, that are genuinely within your power. These include your own choices, your own actions, your own effort, your own responses, the way you choose to think about what happens to you, the values you decide to live by. In the second category is everything else, all the things that do not depend on you, that lie outside your power. This includes what other people do and think and say, the outcomes of your efforts, the circumstances you were born into, the past, the future, the countless events that unfold according to forces far beyond any single person. Your entire freedom, your entire peace of mind, rests on keeping these two categories clearly separated and knowing at every moment which one you are dealing with. Consider how much of your suffering comes from confusing these two things. You do your best on some project, and then you agonize over whether it will succeed, but the outcome depends on countless factors beyond you, on markets and timing and the decisions of others. You did the part that was yours, the effort, and then you torment yourself over the part that was never yours, the result. Or someone treats you unfairly, and you spend days consumed by it, replaying it, wishing they had acted differently, but their behavior was theirs, not yours, and no amount of your suffering will change what they did. You are trying to control the uncontrollable, and it is tearing you apart. The moment you release your grip on what was never yours to hold, an enormous weight lifts. You are no longer responsible for the entire universe. You are responsible only for your own small but genuine domain of control. Here is what falls within your true power, and it is more than enough. You control your own actions. In any situation, you get to choose what you will do. You control your own effort, how hard you try, how much you give. You control your own attention, what you choose to focus on, and what you choose to let go. You control your own responses, how you meet the things that happen to you. And perhaps most importantly, you control the way you interpret events, the meaning you give them, the story you tell yourself about what they signify. Two people can face the exact same hardship and respond in completely different ways, one broken by it, the other strengthened, and the difference is not in the event, but in how each person chose to meet it. This power of response is always yours. It can never be taken from you. No matter what happens, no matter how dire the circumstances, you always retain the freedom to choose your own response. This is the last and greatest human freedom, and it belongs to you in every moment. And here is what lies outside your power, no matter how much you might wish otherwise. You cannot control what other people do. You can influence them, request things of them, set boundaries with them, but their choices are ultimately theirs. You cannot control outcomes, the results of your efforts, whether you win or lose, succeed or fail, because outcomes depend on far more than your effort alone. You cannot control the past, which is finished and unchangeable. You cannot control the future, which will unfold according to forces you cannot command. You cannot control the weather, the economy, the opinions others hold of you, the accidents of chance that shape so much of life. When you accept that these things are not yours to control, you stop the exhausting and futile struggle against them. You save your energy for the one place where it can actually make a difference, which is the domain of your own choices and actions. This does not mean you become passive or stop caring. This is a common misunderstanding. Focusing only on what you can control does not mean giving up, sitting back, letting life happen to you. Quite the opposite. It means directing all of your energy, undivided, into the things where your energy actually matters. The farmer cannot control the weather, but they can control how well they plant, how faithfully they tend the crops, how prepared they are for hard seasons. They do their part fully and completely, and then they release their grip on the part that is not theirs, the rain, the sun, the outcome of the harvest. This is not passivity. It is the wisest possible use of effort. You throw yourself entirely into your own actions, and then you accept whatever results come with a peaceful heart, knowing you did your part, and the rest was never yours to command. Let me give you a practical way to use this every day. When you feel yourself becoming stressed, anxious, or frustrated, pause and ask yourself a single question. Is this within my control or not? If it is within your control, then stop worrying and start acting. Worry is useless where action is possible. Do the thing, take the step, make the choice. And if it is not within your control, then this is your signal to release it, not because you do not care, but because your worry changes nothing and only harms you. Say to yourself, "This is not mine to control, and I release it." Turn your attention back to what is yours, to your next action, your next choice, your own response. This single question, asked again and again throughout your days, will slowly transform your relationship with everything that happens to you. It will pull you out of the swamp of helpless worry and place you firmly on the solid ground of effective action. Think about how much of the world's advice ignores this distinction and therefore leads people astray. People are told to worry about their reputation, but reputation lives in other people's minds and is not fully within your control. You can act with integrity, which is yours, but whether others think well of you is theirs, not yours. People are told to chase success, but success as the world defines it depends on outcomes beyond your control. What is within your control is the quality of your effort and character. Chase those, and you can never truly fail, because they depend on no one but you. When you shift your goals from outcomes you cannot control to actions you can, something wonderful happens. You become unstoppable, because your success no longer depends on the cooperation of a world that will not always cooperate. It depends only on you, on your effort, your choices, your character, and those are always available to you. There is deep peace in this way of living, a peace that most people never find because they never stop pushing on mountains. When you have truly internalized the difference between what you control and what you do not, you become remarkably steady. Insults do not shake you as much because you know that another person's opinion is not within your control and therefore not worth your suffering. Failures do not crush you because you know you controlled your effort and the outcome was never fully yours. Even great losses become bearable because you have made peace with the fact that so much of life lies beyond human control, and you have learned to hold lightly what was never yours to keep. This is not coldness, it is wisdom. It is the steady heart of a person who has stopped fighting reality and started working skillfully within it. Practice this distinction until it becomes second nature. In the morning, before the day's demands crowd in, remind yourself, "Today I will do my part fully, and I will release the rest. I will control what is mine to control, my actions, my effort, my responses, and I will let go of what is not, the outcomes, the opinions, the events beyond my reach. Carry this reminder through your day. Each time you feel the familiar pull of worry over something you cannot change, gently return to it. This is not mine. I release it. And each time you face something you can change, meet it with your full energy and commitment. This is mine. I will act. Live this way long enough, and you will discover a strange and beautiful freedom. You will have stopped trying to carry the whole world, and you will find that your own small domain, tended well, is more than enough to build a good and peaceful life. So focus only on what you can actually change. Let the mountains be mountains. Stop breaking yourself against them. Turn your energy toward the ground beneath your own feet, toward your own next step, your own next choice, your own response to whatever this moment brings. This is where your power lives. This is where your peace lives. And when you finally stop spending your life pushing on things that will not move, you will be amazed at how much strength you have left for the things that will. Let me offer you one final image that captures the whole of this teaching. Imagine an archer. The archer can control many things. They can control how much they practice, how carefully they aim, how steady they hold the bow, how smoothly they release the arrow. All of this is within their power, and they should give it their full attention and effort. But once the arrow leaves the bow, its flight is out of their hands. A sudden gust of wind might catch it, something might move in its path. The result, once the arrow is loosed, is no longer theirs to control. The wise archer, therefore, pours everything into what they can control, the preparation, the aim, the release, and then releases their grip on the outcome, accepting whatever comes. This is exactly how to live. Give your full effort to your actions, which are yours, and then release the outcomes, which are not. Do this, and you will find that you can act with total commitment and yet remain at peace, because your peace no longer depends on results you were never able to command in the first place. This way of living also protects you from a particular kind of misery that consumes many people, which is the endless comparison of yourself to others. When you focus only on what you can control, you stop measuring your worth by outcomes and start measuring it by your own effort and character, which belong entirely to you. It does not matter what someone else has achieved, because their achievements were shaped by countless factors that are not yours and not in your control. What matters is whether you are giving your full and honest effort to your own life, whether you are acting with integrity, whether you are becoming the kind of person you want to be. These things are entirely within your power, and no one can take them from you or do them better than you simply because they had more advantages. When you shift your attention from comparing outcomes to tending your own controllable domain of effort and character, an enormous burden lifts. You are freed from the exhausting and pointless race of comparing your results to everyone else's. You return to the only race that was ever really yours, which is the quiet, private work of doing your best with what you have been given. And in that race, you can always win, because winning depends only on you. Chapter 6. Rebuild your inner strength through small, daily habits. People tend to believe that change happens in great dramatic moments. They imagine that one day they will make a single, powerful decision that transforms their entire life, that they will wake up one morning completely different, that some grand event will finally set them on the right path, and so they wait for the big moment, the perfect conditions, the burst of motivation that will carry them to a new life. But that moment rarely comes, and when it does come, it rarely lasts. The truth about lasting change is far less dramatic and far more powerful. Real transformation is not built in grand gestures. It is built in small daily habits, repeated over and over, day after day, until they reshape who you are. Your life today is largely the sum of the small things you have done repeatedly, and your life tomorrow will be the sum of the small things you begin doing now. This is not a limitation. This is the most hopeful truth there is, because it means the power to remake yourself is available to you every single day, in the smallest of actions. Consider how strength of any kind is actually built. A person does not become physically strong by lifting one enormous weight a single time. They become strong by lifting moderate weights consistently, day after day, allowing small efforts to accumulate into great strength over time. The same is true of inner strength, of resilience, of discipline, of peace of mind. You do not become a calm and resilient person through one dramatic breakthrough. You become that person through small, daily practices, repeated until they become part of you. Every time you choose the slightly harder right thing over the easier wrong thing, you build a little strength. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you build a little more. These tiny acts seem insignificant in the moment, hardly worth noticing, but they compound, they accumulate. And over months and years, they build a person of remarkable inner strength, one small brick at a time. The reason small habits work where grand resolutions fail comes down to how human beings actually change. A dramatic resolution relies on motivation, and motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes with your mood, your energy, your circumstances. When motivation fades, and it always fades, the grand plan collapses. But a small habit does not depend on motivation. It is small enough to do even on your worst days, even when you feel nothing, even when everything in you wants to quit. And because it is small enough to do consistently, it actually gets done, day after day, until it becomes automatic, until it becomes simply who you are. This is the secret that separates people who change from people who only wish to change. The changers do not rely on feeling motivated. They rely on small habits, so manageable that they can be sustained regardless of how they feel. They make the habit so small it cannot be refused, and then they let time and repetition do the rest. Let me give you the most important principle for building any new habit. Start absurdly small, smaller than you think you need to. If you want to build a habit of exercise, do not resolve to work out for an hour every day. That is too big, and you will quit within a week. Instead, resolve to do one single push-up, or to put on your shoes and step outside. If you want to build a habit of reading, do not resolve to read 50 pages a day. Resolve to read 1 page, or even 1 paragraph. If you want to build a practice of calm, do not resolve to meditate for 30 minutes. Resolve to take 3 slow breaths. The goal at the beginning is not to accomplish a lot. The goal is to show up consistently until the showing up becomes automatic. Once the habit of showing up is established, it grows on its own. You will often find yourself doing more than the tiny amount you committed to, but the tiny amount is the anchor, the thing you do no matter what, the promise you never break. Consistency matters far more than intensity. A small thing done every day beats a large thing done once and abandoned. The ancient thinkers understood that character itself is built through repeated action. They taught that we become what we repeatedly do, that excellence is not an act but a habit, that a person is shaped by the small daily choices they make far more than by any grand intention. If you want to become a patient person, you practice patience in small moments, again and again, until patience becomes your nature. If you want to become a disciplined person, you practice discipline in small ways daily, until discipline becomes who you are. You cannot simply decide to be a certain kind of person and become it overnight. You become that person through practice, through repeated action, through building the habits that person would have, one day at a time. Your daily habits are not just things you do. They are the workshop in which your very character is forged. Choose them with care, because in the end, they will make you into whoever you are becoming. There is a particular power in keeping small promises to yourself, and it deserves your attention. Every time you say you will do something and then do it, even something tiny, you build trust with yourself. You prove to yourself that your word means something, that you are someone who follows through, that you can rely on yourself. This self-trust is the foundation of all inner strength. Many people have broken so many promises to themselves that they no longer believe their own intentions. They say they will change, and some part of them quietly knows they will not, because they have failed themselves so many times before. Small daily habits are how you rebuild this broken trust. By choosing something small and doing it faithfully every day, you slowly restore your faith in yourself. You become, once again, a person whose word can be counted on, starting with the word you give to yourself. And from that restored self-trust, larger changes become possible. Let me give you a practical structure for building your daily habits. Choose one small habit to begin with, just one. Do not try to change everything at once, because that is the surest way to change nothing. Pick one small practice that moves you toward the person you want to become. Then attach it to something you already do every day, so it has a natural place in your routine. After you brush your teeth, take 3 slow breaths. After you pour your morning coffee, write down one thing you are grateful for. After you sit down at your desk, spend 2 minutes planning your day. By anchoring the new habit to an existing one, you give it a reliable home and make it far easier to remember and sustain. Do this one small thing every day for a few weeks until it becomes automatic, until it feels strange not to do it. Only then, once the first habit is solid, add a second. Build your new life the way a wall is built, one brick at a time, each one set firmly before the next is laid. Understand that you will miss days, and this is where most people fail, not in the missing, but in what they do afterward. You will forget. You will be too tired. Life will interrupt, and when you miss a day, a voice will tell you that you have failed, that the streak is broken, that you might as well give up. Do not listen to this voice. Missing one day is nothing. It is the missing of the second and third and fourth days that undoes you. The rule that will save you is simple. Never miss twice. If you miss one day, make absolutely sure you return the next. One missed day is an accident. 2 missed days is the beginning of a new habit of quitting. When you stumble, do not waste energy on guilt or self-criticism. Simply return, calmly, the very next day, as if nothing happened. The people who succeed are not the ones who never miss. They are the ones who always return. Resilience is not about being perfect. It is about getting back up, again and again, without drama, without self-punishment, simply returning to the path. Think about where these small habits lead over time, because the long view is what makes them worth doing. A single small action seems to change nothing. 3 slow breaths, 1 page read, 1 small promise kept. None of it seems to matter on any given day. But zoom out. Imagine doing these small things every day for a year, for 5 years, for a decade. The person who takes 3 calming breaths daily for years becomes a genuinely calmer person, one whose nervous system has been retrained by thousands of small moments of peace. The person who reads 1 page a day reads dozens of books over the years and slowly transforms their mind. The person who keeps small promises to themselves daily becomes, over time, a person of deep self-trust and reliability. Small habits are small only in the moment. Across time, they are enormous. They are, quite literally, how a life is built and how a person is made. So begin rebuilding your inner strength today, not with a grand gesture, but with a single small habit, chosen with care and repeated with faithfulness. Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not try to change everything at once. Choose one small thing, make it so small you cannot fail, anchor it to your existing routine, and do it every day. When you miss, return the next day without punishing yourself. Let the small actions accumulate. Trust that they are building something even when you cannot yet see it. And one day, perhaps a year from now, perhaps 5, you will look back and realize that you have become a fundamentally stronger person, not through any single dramatic act, but through the quiet, faithful repetition of small daily habits that slowly, surely, remade you from the inside out. This is how real strength is built, not all at once, but day by day by day. Let me give you one more principle that ties all of this together and makes it last. Do not focus on the goal. Focus on becoming the kind of person who naturally does the things that lead to the goal. There is a crucial difference. A person focused only on a goal is always straining towards some distant future, always measuring the gap between where they are and where they want to be, always a little frustrated that they have not yet arrived. But a person focused on becoming a certain kind of person through daily habits is building an identity, and identity is far more powerful and lasting than any goal. When your small daily habits are no longer things you do, but expressions of who you are, they become effortless and permanent. You do not have to force yourself to take a calming breath if being a calm person is simply who you are. You do not have to drag yourself to exercise if you have become a person who moves their body. Build the identity through the habits, and the habits stop being a struggle. They become simply the natural behavior of the person you have become. This is the deepest form of change, when the new behavior is no longer something you do, but someone you are. Understand, finally, that the days you least feel like doing your small habit are the most important days of all. Anyone can keep a habit on the good days, when they feel motivated and energetic and everything is going well. But the days when you are tired, discouraged, and want to quit are the days that truly matter, because those are the days that build the deepest strength. When you do your small habit, even on a hard day, even when you feel nothing, even when every part of you wants to skip it, you are proving to yourself something profound. You are proving that your commitment does not depend on your mood, that you can be relied upon regardless of how you feel, that you are becoming a person of genuine discipline and inner strength. Each of these hard day repetitions is worth many of the easy ones, because it is precisely in these moments that character is forged. So do not despair when you do not feel like doing the work. See those moments for what they are, opportunities to build a strength that the easy days can never give you. Show up especially on the hard days, and watch yourself become, over time, a person of remarkable and unshakable inner strength. Chapter 7. Replace harsh thoughts with kind and gentle words. There is a voice inside your head that talks to you all day long. It comments on everything you do, everything that happens, everything you feel. For many people, this inner voice is a harsh and cruel companion. It calls them stupid when they make a mistake. It tells them they are not good enough, not attractive enough, not smart enough, not worthy. It compares them constantly to others and always finds them lacking. It predicts their failures and reminds them of their flaws. This voice is so constant and so familiar that most people never stop to question it. They simply accept its cruelty as the truth about themselves. But here is something that will change your life if you truly absorb it. The way you speak to yourself matters enormously, and you would never accept from another person the cruelty you routinely accept from your own inner voice. It is time to change the way you talk to yourself. Think about the effect that words have on a person. If a child grows up hearing constantly that they are worthless and stupid and will never amount to anything, that child is damaged, sometimes for life. The words shape them, wound them, become the walls of the prison they live in. Now consider that you may be saying these very things to yourself every single day in the privacy of your own mind. You would be horrified to hear someone speak to a child the way you speak to yourself. You would step in to protect that child. Yet you allow this cruelty to continue inside your own head, day after day, year after year, never questioning it, never defending yourself against it. The harsh inner voice does real damage. It erodes your confidence, feeds your anxiety, deepens your sadness, and makes everything in life harder. And the person suffering all this harm is you, at your own hands. This must change, and it can. The first step is simply to notice the voice. Most people are so used to their inner critic that they do not even hear it as a separate thing. It just feels like reality, like the plain truth about themselves. So begin to pay attention. Throughout your day, catch the moments when you speak to yourself harshly. When you make a small mistake, listen for the voice that says something cruel. When you look in the mirror, notice the judgments that arise. When you fall short of something, hear what your inner voice tells you about it. Simply becoming aware of this harsh self-talk is a massive step, because you cannot change something you do not notice. Once you begin to hear the cruelty clearly, as if it were a separate voice rather than simple fact, you gain the power to challenge it, to answer it, to replace it with something kinder. Awareness is where the change begins. Once you notice the harsh voice, do not try to violently silence it or hate yourself for having it. That would only be adding harshness to harshness. Instead, gently challenge it and offer a kinder alternative. When the voice says you are stupid for making a mistake, pause and ask, would I say this to a good friend who made the same mistake? Almost certainly you would not. You would be understanding. You would say that everyone makes mistakes, that it is not the end of the world, that they can learn from it and move on. This is the voice you must learn to use with yourself. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love. When you fail, instead of, I am a failure, try, that did not work out, and that is all right. I will learn from it and try again. When you struggle, instead of, I am weak, try, this is hard, and I am doing the best I can. The harsh words and the kind words describe the same events, but they create entirely different lives. The ancient thinkers understood that our inner life shapes our whole experience of the world. They taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about events, the things we tell ourselves about what happens. Two people face the same setback. One tells themselves it proves they are worthless, and they sink into despair. The other tells themselves it is a temporary obstacle they can overcome, and they rise to meet it. The difference is in the inner words. This is a form of wisdom and discipline, to govern the way you speak to yourself, to refuse to let your mind torment you with cruel and false judgments. A wise person does not allow their inner voice to run wild with harshness. They train it, discipline it, guide it toward truth and kindness. This is not weakness or self-indulgence. It is one of the highest forms of self-mastery, to become the master of your own inner speech rather than its helpless victim. Understand something important about the harsh inner voice. Much of what it says is simply not true. It speaks in absolutes and exaggerations. It says you always fail, that you never do anything right, that everyone thinks poorly of you, that you will never change. These are not accurate statements about reality. They are the distortions of a mind that has fallen into a cruel habit. When you begin to examine the harsh voice closely, you find that it is often lying. You do not always fail. You have succeeded at many things. Not everyone thinks poorly of you. People are mostly thinking about themselves. You can change, and you are changing right now by reading these words. Part of replacing harsh thoughts with kind ones is simply replacing false thoughts with true ones. The kind voice is very often also the more accurate voice, because it sees the whole picture rather than fixating only on the flaws and failures. Let me give you a practical daily practice. Each time you catch yourself in harsh self-talk, do 3 things. First, notice it. Say to yourself, "There is the harsh voice again." Second, question it. Ask, "Is this true? And is this how I would speak to someone I love?" Third, replace it. Offer yourself a kinder and truer statement in its place. This 3-step practice, noticing, questioning, replacing, will slowly retrain your inner voice. At first, it will feel awkward and forced. The harsh voice has had years of practice, and the kind voice is new and clumsy. But keep at it. Every time you replace a cruel thought with a gentle one, you weaken the old habit and strengthen the new one. Over time, and it does take time, the kind voice grows stronger and more natural, and the harsh voice grows quieter and less frequent. You are, quite literally, rebuilding the relationship you have with yourself, from one of cruelty to one of care. There is a common fear that if you are kind to yourself, you will become lazy or complacent, that the harsh voice, however painful, is what drives you to improve. This is one of the most damaging myths there is. Look honestly at the results of your harsh self-talk. Has all that cruelty actually made you better, or has it just made you miserable and anxious and afraid to try? The truth is that people do not perform better when they are being attacked. They perform better when they feel supported, encouraged, and safe. A good coach does not motivate their team purely through insults and cruelty. They motivate through belief, through encouragement, through high standards held with warmth. You can be your own good coach. You can hold high standards for yourself while speaking to yourself with kindness. In fact, this combination, high standards with self-compassion, is far more powerful than cruelty ever was. Kindness does not make you weak. It makes you resilient, because a person who is kind to themselves can face failure without being destroyed by it, and can therefore keep trying where the harshly treated person gives up. Consider how this changes your capacity to recover from difficulty. When something goes wrong for a person whose inner voice is cruel, the event is only the beginning of their suffering. The real damage comes from the storm of self-attack that follows, the pile of harsh judgments they heap upon themselves. But when something goes wrong for a person whose inner voice is kind, they meet the difficulty, and then they meet themselves with compassion. That did not go well, they tell themselves gently, but I am still worthy. I can learn from this. I will be all right. This person recovers far faster. They do not add a second wound on top of the first. They are able to pick themselves up, learn what there is to learn, and move forward, precisely because they did not spend their energy tearing themselves apart. The kind inner voice is not a luxury. It is the very thing that makes resilience possible. Building a kind inner voice is one of the most loving things you will ever do for yourself, and its effects reach into every corner of your life. When you speak to yourself with kindness, you become calmer because you are no longer under constant attack from within. You become more confident because you are no longer being told constantly that you are not good enough. You become more willing to try new things because failure no longer means a brutal inner beating. You become more at peace because your own mind has become a friendly place to be rather than a battlefield. And this inner change radiates outward. People who are kind to themselves tend to be kinder to others, more patient, more generous, more at ease. The gentleness you cultivate within yourself becomes gentleness you offer the world. It all begins with the words you choose to say inside your own head. So make the decision to change the way you talk to yourself. Begin noticing the harsh voice, question its cruelty and its lies. Replace it, again and again, with words that are kind and true. Speak to yourself as you would to a beloved friend, with patience, with understanding, with encouragement. It will feel strange at first, and the old harsh voice will not disappear overnight. But with steady practice, the balance shifts. The cruelty fades, the kindness grows, and one day you will realize that the voice inside your head, which was once your harshest critic, has become instead your gentlest supporter, walking beside you through every difficulty with warmth and belief. This is a gift only you can give yourself, and it is one of the greatest gifts there is. Replace your harsh thoughts with kind and gentle words, and watch how your entire inner world begins to heal. Let me offer you a way to think about this that makes the whole practice easier. Imagine that inside you there is a small child, the child you once were, still living in your heart. Now imagine how that child would feel, hearing the harsh things your inner voice says every day, the cruel judgments, the constant criticism, the endless reminders of every flaw and failure. That child would be crushed, wounded, made small and afraid. And in a real sense, that child is you, the tender core of you that still needs kindness, encouragement, and love. When you speak harshly to yourself, you are wounding that child. When you speak kindly to yourself, you are protecting and nurturing that child. So the next time you catch the cruel voice, imagine you are speaking not to some abstract self, but to a small child who needs your care. You would never call a frightened child stupid or worthless. You would kneel down, speak gently, offer comfort and encouragement. Offer yourself that same tenderness. The wounded child within you has waited a very long time to hear a kind voice. Let that kind voice, finally, be yours. There is a lasting peace that comes when the war inside you finally ends. For most people, the inner critic keeps them in a constant state of low-grade warfare, always under attack, always defending, never at rest within their own mind. It is exhausting to live at war with yourself, and most people do not even realize they are doing it, because they have never known anything else. But imagine what it would be like for that war to end, to have your own mind become a place of safety rather than a battlefield, to be able to rest inside your own head, to be your own ally rather than your own enemy, to move through the world with the quiet confidence of someone who is on their own side. This peace is not out of reach. It is built word by word every time you choose kindness over cruelty in the way you speak to yourself. The war does not end in a single dramatic ceasefire. It ends slowly, through thousands of small choices, to be gentle rather than harsh, until one day you realize the fighting has stopped, and you are finally at peace within yourself. This peace is one of the greatest rewards of all the work in this book, and it begins the moment you decide to become your own friend. Chapter 8. Rest deeply and let your tired mind recover. There is a belief woven deeply into modern life, and it is quietly destroying people. The belief is that rest is weakness, that to slow down is to fall behind, that the only path to a good life is constant motion and endless productivity. People wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor. They boast about how little they sleep, how hard they push, how they never stop. They feel guilty the moment they sit still, as if resting were a kind of failure, a laziness to be ashamed of, and so they drive themselves relentlessly, day after day, never allowing themselves to truly stop, until eventually something breaks, the body or the mind or both. Here is the truth that this exhausted world desperately needs to hear. Rest is not weakness. Rest is not laziness. Rest is a necessity, as essential to a good life as effort itself. And a tired mind, no matter how willing, cannot heal, cannot think clearly, cannot find peace. If you want to become well, you must learn to rest deeply. Consider what happens to anything that is used without rest. A field that is planted season after season without ever being allowed to lie fallow eventually becomes barren, unable to produce anything at all. A muscle that is worked without recovery does not grow stronger, it breaks down and becomes injured. A machine that runs without maintenance eventually fails, and a human mind that is pushed without rest becomes foggy, anxious, irritable, unable to focus, unable to cope, until it finally collapses under the strain. Rest is not the opposite of productivity. Rest is what makes sustained productivity possible. It is during rest that the body repairs itself, that the mind consolidates what it has learned, that the deep systems of healing do their quiet work. You do not grow stronger during effort. You grow stronger during the recovery that follows effort. Without recovery, effort does not build you up. It tears you down. The most fundamental form of rest is sleep, and it is the one that people sacrifice most carelessly. Sleep is not wasted time. It is one of the most important things you do. During sleep, your brain clears away the waste products that accumulate during waking hours. It processes and stores your memories, sorting through the experiences of the day. It regulates your emotions, which is why everything feels harder and darker when you are tired, and why a good night of sleep can make a problem that seemed overwhelming suddenly feel manageable. When you cheat yourself of sleep, you cheat yourself of all of this. You wake already depleted, your mind foggy, your emotions raw, your resilience thin, and then you wonder why everything feels so hard, why you cannot cope, why your mind races and your mood sinks. Very often, the answer is simply that you are exhausted, and an exhausted mind cannot function or heal. Protecting your sleep is one of the most important things you can do for your mental peace. But rest is more than just sleep. There is a kind of rest that even people who sleep enough often fail to get, and it is the rest of a mind that is allowed to be quiet. In modern life, the mind is almost never allowed to stop. Every spare moment is filled. Waiting in line, you reach for your phone. Sitting in a quiet moment, you turn on something to watch or listen to. The mind is constantly fed with information, stimulation, noise, never given a moment of genuine stillness. This constant input exhausts the mind just as surely as physical labor exhausts the body. Your mind needs empty space, moments of doing nothing, of simply being, of letting your thoughts settle like sediment in still water. Give yourself these moments. Sit quietly without reaching for distraction. Take a walk without listening to anything. Let your mind wander and rest. This quiet is not empty or wasted. It is deeply restorative, and a mind that never gets it will never truly be at peace. The ancient thinkers understood the value of rest and stillness. They did not glorify endless frantic activity. They understood that a person needs times of quiet reflection, of withdrawal from the noise of the world, in order to think clearly and live well. They practiced returning to themselves, to a calm inner center, away from the constant demands and distractions of life. This was not laziness. It was wisdom. They knew that a person who never stops to rest and reflect becomes a slave to their activities, driven along by them without ever pausing to consider whether they are living well. Rest gives you the space to step back, to see your life clearly, to reconnect with what matters. Without this space, you are simply running, faster and faster, without ever asking where you are running to. Rest is not a break from a meaningful life. It is part of what makes a life meaningful. Let me offer you practical guidance for resting deeply. First, protect your sleep as if it were sacred, because it nearly is. Give yourself enough hours. Create a calm routine before bed, dimming the lights, putting away the screens that agitate the mind, letting your body and mind wind down. Treat the hour before sleep as a gentle descent rather than a sudden stop. Second, build small moments of rest into your day. You do not need hours. Even a few minutes of sitting quietly, breathing slowly, doing nothing, can restore you. Take these pauses between your tasks, rather than rushing from one thing to the next without a breath. Third, give yourself permission to truly stop sometimes, without guilt. Have moments, and even whole days, where you are not trying to accomplish anything, where you simply rest and recover, and let yourself be. These are not wasted days. They are the days that make all the other days possible. There is a particular kind of tiredness that goes beyond the physical, and it deserves attention. It is the tiredness of a mind that has been carrying too much for too long, the weariness of ongoing stress, of constant worry, of emotional strain. This deep tiredness is not fixed by a single night of sleep. It requires a more sustained gentleness with yourself, a period of reducing demands, of lowering the pressure, of allowing yourself to recover slowly. If you have been through something hard, if you have been under strain for a long time, understand that you may need more rest than usual, and that this is not weakness, but wisdom. Do not push a mind that is deeply depleted as if it were fully charged. Honor where you actually are. Give yourself the recovery you need. A tired mind pushed harder only breaks further. A tired mind, given rest, slowly heals and returns to strength. Learn to recognize the signs that you need rest before you reach the point of collapse. Your body and mind send signals long before they break down, but people learn to ignore these signals in the name of productivity. Irritability, when small things suddenly bother you far more than they should. Difficulty concentrating, when your mind will not focus no matter how hard you try. A short temper, a heavy feeling, a sense that everything is too much. These are not character flaws to push through. They are signals that you need rest. When you notice them, do not respond by pushing harder. Respond by resting. This is how you prevent the collapse before it happens. This is how you sustain yourself over the long term rather than burning out. Listen to your body and mind. They are wiser than the voice that tells you to keep going no matter what. That voice, followed too long, leads only to breakdown. Understand that resting well actually makes you more effective, not less, and this may help quiet the guilt. The person who rests properly thinks more clearly, works more efficiently, makes better decisions, and treats others more kindly than the person running on empty. 2 hours of focused work from a rested mind accomplish more than a whole exhausted day of foggy, error-filled struggle. When you rest, you are not stealing time from your goals. You are investing in your ability to pursue them well. The most sustainable and successful path is not endless grinding, but a rhythm of focused effort followed by genuine recovery, effort and rest, like the beating of a heart. A heart that only contracted and never relaxed would not be working harder, it would be dead. You need both phases. Effort builds nothing without the rest that lets it take hold. So give yourself permission to rest deeply and release the guilt that has told you rest is weakness. Protect your sleep. Build quiet moments into your days. Allow yourself to truly stop sometimes, without needing to justify it, without needing to earn it. Recognize the signs of tiredness and honor them rather than pushing through. Understand that a tired mind cannot heal, cannot find peace, cannot become well, and that rest is therefore not a luxury but a requirement for the healing you seek. You are not a machine built for endless output. You are a living being that needs recovery as surely as you need effort. Let your tired mind rest. Let it recover. Let it return, slowly, to clarity and calm and strength. In a world that never stops, choosing to rest is a radical and healing act. Give yourself that gift. Your mind, your body, and your whole life will be restored by it. There is a deeper kind of rest that goes beyond even sleep and stillness, and it is worth naming here. It is the rest that comes from letting go of the need to constantly prove yourself. Many people are exhausted not only in body but in spirit, worn down by an endless inner pressure to achieve, to be enough, to justify their existence through constant accomplishment. This pressure never rests, and so neither do they, not truly, even when their bodies are still. The deepest rest comes when you allow yourself to simply be, without needing to earn your place in the world through ceaseless doing. You are allowed to exist. You are allowed to rest. Your worth does not depend on your productivity. When you truly absorb this, a profound relaxation becomes possible, a rest not just of the body, but of the whole striving, anxious self. You can set down, at least for a while, the exhausting project of proving that you deserve to be here. You deserve to be here simply because you are. Rest in that truth, and you will find a peace that no amount of mere sleep could ever give you. Let me leave you with a gentle reminder for the times when the guilt of resting returns, as it will. In a world that measures people by how much they produce, choosing to rest can feel like a rebellion, and a part of you may resist it, whispering that you should be doing more. When this happens, remember that rest is not the enemy of a good life, but one of its foundations. Everything alive rests. The fields rest between seasons. The animals rest through winter. Even the day rests into night. Rest is not a flaw in the design of life. It is part of the design, woven into the deepest rhythms of existence. To rest is not to fail at living. It is to live in harmony with the natural order of things, which alternates always between activity and recovery, effort and stillness, day and night. When you rest, you are not falling behind. You are honoring a rhythm as old and as wise as life itself, so give yourself permission to rest without guilt, knowing that in doing so, you are not being lazy or weak, but wise, aligning yourself with the deep truth that all living things need recovery in order to thrive. Rest well, and let your tired mind be restored. You will rise from that rest stronger, clearer, and more ready for the life that awaits you. Chapter 9. Trust the process and move forward with courage. There comes a point in every difficult journey when you cannot see the destination. You have left where you started, but you have not yet arrived anywhere new. You are in the middle, in the uncertain space where the old life is gone, but the new one has not yet formed, where you cannot tell whether all your effort is leading anywhere at all. This is the hardest place to be, and it is where most people give up. They quit not because they have failed, but because they cannot see their progress, because the results have not come as fast as they hoped, because the doubt has grown too loud, and so they abandon the path just before it would have led them somewhere. If you are to heal, if you are to change, if you are to build a better life, you must learn to keep moving forward, even when you cannot see where you are going. You must learn to trust the process and to walk with courage through the uncertain middle. Understand first that healing and growth do not happen in a straight line. People imagine that progress should look like a smooth upward climb, getting a little better every single day in a steady, visible way. But real growth almost never looks like that. It looks like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It looks like periods of rapid progress followed by long plateaus where nothing seems to change. It looks like good days and bad days, breakthroughs and setbacks, times of hope and times of doubt, all mixed together. When you understand that this is normal, that this is simply what real growth looks like, you stop panicking at the setbacks. A bad day does not mean you have failed. A plateau does not mean you have stopped growing. Often the deepest growth is happening beneath the surface, invisible, in times when nothing seems to be happening at all. Trust that the process is working, even when you cannot see it working, because that is precisely when it often works the most. Consider how much growth happens invisibly, beneath what you can observe. A seed planted in the ground shows nothing for a long time. On the surface, the soil looks empty, day after day, and you might think nothing is happening, that the seed has failed, that your effort was wasted. But beneath the soil, unseen, the seed is doing exactly what it must do. It is putting down roots. It is gathering strength. And then one day, seemingly all at once, it breaks through the surface. The growth was happening the whole time. It simply was not visible yet. Your own growth is often like this. In the long stretches where you feel stuck, where you cannot see any change, roots are forming beneath the surface. The work you are doing is accumulating even when you cannot perceive it. Do not mistake the invisibility of growth for its absence. Keep tending the soil. Keep doing the work. Trust that beneath the surface, something is taking root. The ancient thinkers taught that a person should focus on their own actions and effort, rather than becoming consumed by results, especially results they cannot control or immediately see. Do the work that is yours to do. Take the next right step. and then release your anxiety about how quickly the results will come, because that anxiety helps nothing and only drains the strength you need for the journey. This is what it means to trust the process. It does not mean sitting back passively and hoping. It means doing your part faithfully, day after day, and then trusting that faithful effort, sustained over time, leads somewhere good, even when you cannot yet see where. The farmer does not dig up the seed every day to check on it. That would only kill it. The farmer plants, tends, and trusts, doing the work and allowing time to do its part. You must learn to do the same with your own growth. Plant, tend, and trust. Courage is the companion of trust, and you will need it, because moving forward through uncertainty is frightening. It takes courage to keep going when you cannot see the destination. It takes courage to try again after failing. It takes courage to face each new day when the old pain still lingers and the new life has not yet arrived. But understand what courage actually is. Courage is not the absence of fear. The brave person is not someone who feels no fear. The brave person is someone who feels the fear and moves forward anyway, who acts despite the fear, who does not let the fear make their decisions for them. You do not need to wait until you are unafraid to move forward, because that day may never come. You only need to be willing to move forward while afraid. Every time you do this, every time you take a step despite your fear, you grow stronger, and the fear grows a little smaller. Courage, like everything else, is built through practice. Let me give you something practical for the hard middle of the journey. When you cannot see your progress and the doubt grows loud, do not try to see the whole path at once. That is what overwhelms people, the attempt to see the entire distance still to travel. Instead, focus only on the next step. You do not need to know how the whole journey will unfold. You only need to know the next single thing to do, and then do it. Ask yourself, not how you will heal your entire life, but what one small thing you can do today to move forward. Then do that one thing. Tomorrow, ask again, and do the next thing. This is how any long journey is completed, not by seeing the whole path at once, but by taking one step, and then another, and then another. The path reveals itself as you walk it. You do not need the whole map. You only need enough light to see the next step, and that light is always available if you are willing to look. There is a quiet strength in learning to keep faith with yourself during the times when results have not yet come. Anyone can stay motivated when they are seeing quick, visible progress. The real test and the real growth comes in the long stretches when the progress is slow or invisible, when you must keep going on faith rather than on evidence. It is in these times that you discover what you are truly made of. It is in these times that character is forged. When you keep doing the right things, even without immediate reward, even without visible progress, even when part of you wants to quit, you become a person of real depth and strength. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted to persist, that your commitment does not depend on constant rewards, that you have the endurance to see things through. This endurance is one of the most valuable qualities a person can have, and it is built precisely in the difficult middle that most people flee. Understand that setbacks are not the end of the story, and how you interpret them makes all the difference. When you hit a setback, when you have a bad day, when you slip back into old patterns you thought you had left behind, you have a choice about what it means. You can decide it means you have failed, that all your progress was an illusion, that you should give up. Or you can decide it means simply that you are human, that setbacks are part of every real journey, that this stumble does not erase all the steps you have taken, and that you can begin again from right where you are. The setback itself is neutral. It is your interpretation that determines whether it defeats you or teaches you. Choose the interpretation that keeps you moving. A single setback is only a defeat if you let it stop you. If you get back up and continue, it becomes just one more part of a story that ends in growth. Think about all the people throughout history who accomplished great things, who overcame enormous hardship, who healed from terrible wounds and built beautiful lives. Not one of them did it in a smooth, straight line. Every one of them faced doubt, setbacks, long stretches where they could not see the way forward, moments where giving up would have been easier. What separated them was not that their path was smoother, it was that they kept going. They trusted the process when they could not see the results. They found the courage to take the next step even in the dark. They refuse to let the difficult middle be the end of their story. You are made of the same stuff they were. You have within you the same capacity to persist, to trust, to move forward with courage through the uncertain places. The only question is whether you will use it. And that question is answered not once, but every single day, in whether you choose to take the next step. So trust the process, even when you cannot see where it is leading. Understand that growth is not a straight line, that setbacks are normal, that much of your progress is happening invisibly beneath the surface. Do your part faithfully, and release your anxiety about how fast the results will come. Find the courage to move forward, even while afraid, knowing that courage is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. Focus on the next step, rather than the whole overwhelming distance. And when you stumble, get back up and continue, refusing to let a single setback become the end of your story. This is how every meaningful journey is completed, not with certainty, not with a clear view of the destination, but with trust, with courage, and with the simple willingness to keep taking the next step forward. Keep walking. The path is carrying you somewhere good, even now, even when you cannot see it. Trust that, and move forward with courage. Let me give you a final source of strength for the long journey, one that will sustain you when your own motivation runs thin. Remember that you do not have to feel confident to keep going. You only have to keep going. So many people wait to feel ready, wait to feel sure, wait to feel that they can do it before they take the next step. But confidence does not usually come before action. It comes after it. You do not become confident and then act. You act, and through acting, confidence slowly grows. Each step you take, despite your doubt, builds a small piece of evidence that you can do this, and that evidence accumulates over time into genuine confidence. So do not wait to feel ready. You may never feel fully ready, and that is fine. Take the step while still uncertain, while still afraid, while still doubting. The confidence will catch up to you as you walk. This is one of the great secrets of everyone who has ever accomplished anything difficult. They did not wait until the fear was gone. They moved forward, carrying the fear, and found that the fear grew smaller with every step they took. And here, at the end, is perhaps the most important thing to understand about trusting the process. The process is not only leading you toward some future destination, the process is also changing you right now in the very act of walking it. The person who reaches the end of a difficult journey is never the same person who began it. Through all the struggle, the setbacks, the moments of doubt, and the choice to continue anyway, you are being shaped into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you were before. The difficulty is not just an obstacle between you and your goal. It is the very thing that is forging you into a person capable of a better life. So even in the hardest stretches, when you cannot see any progress toward your destination, know that progress is happening within you. You are becoming someone new. The journey is not just taking you somewhere. It is making you into someone, and that someone, forged in the fire of trusting the process and moving forward with courage, is a person of real depth and strength, ready not only to reach a better life, but to fully live it once they arrive. Chapter 10. Choose peace, every morning, and protect your calm. Every morning, you wake to a choice, though most people never realize they are making it. Before the day begins, before the demands and the noise and the countless small stresses arrive, there is a quiet moment in which you decide, consciously or not, what kind of person you will be today, and what state of mind you will carry into the hours ahead. Most people surrender this choice without a thought. They wake and immediately reach for their phone, flooding their mind with news and messages and other people's urgencies before they have even fully opened their eyes. They begin the day reactive, scattered, already stressed, and then they spend the rest of the day at the mercy of whatever comes at them. But you can choose differently. You can decide, each morning, to begin the day in peace, to set the tone yourself, rather than letting the world set it for you. And this single choice, made faithfully each morning, has the power to transform your entire life. Peace is not something that simply happens to you when your circumstances finally become perfect. If you wait for that, you will wait forever, because the circumstances will never be perfect, and there will always be something to disturb your calm. Peace is a choice you make, and a state you cultivate, regardless of your circumstances. It is possible to be at peace in the middle of a difficult life, and it is possible to be miserable in the middle of an easy one. The difference is not in the circumstances, but in the inner state you choose to cultivate and protect. This is one of the most important truths in all of human wisdom. Your peace does not depend on the world becoming calm. Your peace depends on you becoming calm, and then protecting that calm from the countless forces that would steal it. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are the guardian of your own inner state. The morning is where this begins, because the way you start your day shapes everything that follows. When you begin the day in a rush, reactive and stressed, you carry that energy into everything you do. But when you begin the day with a few moments of calm and intention, you carry that calm forward too. So claim the first part of your morning for yourself, before the demands of the day rush in. It does not need to be long. Even a few minutes will do. Before you reach for your phone, before you dive into the day's tasks, take some quiet time. Breathe slowly, as you have learned. Set an intention for the kind of person you want to be today. Remind yourself of what matters. This small morning practice is like setting the rudder of a ship before the journey begins. A small adjustment at the start makes an enormous difference in where you end up. Give yourself these few minutes of morning peace, and you give the whole day a foundation of calm to stand on. The ancient thinkers had a practice of preparing themselves each morning for the day ahead. They would remind themselves that they might encounter difficult people, face frustrations, meet with obstacles and disappointments. Not to become gloomy, but to prepare their minds, so that when these things came, they would not be caught off guard and thrown into turmoil. They would remind themselves of their principles, of the kind of person they wanted to be, of what was within their control and what was not. This morning preparation armored them against the chaos of the day. When difficulty came, as it always does, they met it from a place of readiness and calm, rather than being blindsided into reactive stress. You can do the same. Each morning, prepare your mind. Remind yourself that today may bring challenges and that you will meet them with steadiness. Remind yourself of who you want to be. Enter the day prepared, and the day will have far less power to disturb you. But choosing peace in the morning is only the beginning. The harder work is protecting that peace throughout the day, because the world will constantly try to take it from you. Throughout your day, countless things will reach for your calm. A rude comment, a piece of upsetting news, a frustration, a delay, a conflict, an endless stream of demands. Each of these is a test, a moment where you can either surrender your peace or protect it. And here is what you must understand. No one can take your peace without your permission. When someone is rude to you and you become upset, it feels as though they took your peace. But look more closely. They offered you a disturbance, and you chose to accept it. You picked it up. You carried it. Another person, offered the same rudeness, might have simply let it pass, refusing to let it disturb their calm. The power was never entirely in the other person's hands. A significant part of it was always in yours, in your choice of whether to accept the disturbance or let it go. Learn to guard the gate of your mind. Throughout the day, things will present themselves for your attention, seeking to pull you into stress, anger, worry, and turmoil. You do not have to let them all in. You can develop the discipline of choosing what you allow to disturb you and what you let pass by. When something upsetting arises, pause before reacting. Take a slow breath. Ask yourself whether this is truly worth surrendering your peace over. So often, when you pause and truly ask, the answer is no. The rude comment, the minor frustration, the small inconvenience, these are not worth the peace you would trade for them. By pausing, by breathing, by choosing consciously rather than reacting automatically, you keep the power in your own hands. You become the guardian of your inner state, rather than a leaf blown about by every passing wind. This is a discipline, and like all disciplines, it grows stronger with practice, until protecting your peace becomes as natural as breathing. Let me give you a practical structure for a life of chosen peace. In the morning, before anything else, take your few minutes of calm and intention. Breathe, set the tone, prepare your mind. Throughout the day, when disturbances arise, pause before reacting, breathe, and consciously choose whether to accept the disturbance or let it pass. Use the slow breath you learned in the very first chapter as your constant tool for returning to calm whenever you feel it slipping, And in the evening, take a few moments to release the day, to let go of whatever tension you accumulated, to reset yourself before sleep. Bookend your days with peace, morning and evening, and fill the middle with the ongoing practice of protecting your calm. This is not a single act, but a way of living, a continuous choosing of peace, again and again, throughout each day and across all your days. And the more you practice it, the more natural and automatic it becomes. Understand that protecting your peace is not selfishness, and it is not indifference to the world. Some people fear that choosing calm means not caring, becoming detached, ignoring the real problems and pains of life. But this is a misunderstanding. A person at peace is actually far more able to help, to love, to act well in the world than a person consumed by turmoil. When you are calm, you think more clearly, you respond more wisely, you are more patient with others, more able to offer them the steadiness they need. The calm person is not the uncaring person. The calm person is often the most helpful person in the room, the steady presence others turn to in a crisis, the one who does not add their own panic to an already difficult situation. By protecting your own peace, you become better able to serve everyone around you. Your calm is not just a gift to yourself, it is a gift to everyone whose life you touch. Think about what it would mean to live this way, day after day, to wake each morning and choose peace before the world can choose chaos for you. To move through your days as the guardian of your own calm, letting the small disturbances pass rather than letting them rule you. To meet difficulties from a place of steadiness rather than being thrown into turmoil by every setback. To be, in a chaotic and anxious world, a person of genuine and reliable peace. This is not a fantasy reserved for a special few. It is available to any person willing to practice it, willing to make the choice each morning and protect it through each day. It will not happen perfectly. You will lose your peace many times, and you will have to choose it again. But over time, as you practice, the peace grows deeper and more stable, until it becomes the ground you stand on, rather than a state you occasionally visit. This is the destination of everything you have learned in these pages, a calm and healed mind, chosen and protected, day after day. So begin tomorrow morning. Before you reach for your phone, before you rush into the day, take your few minutes of quiet, breathe slowly, set your intention, choose peace, consciously and deliberately, for the day ahead, and then, throughout the day, protect that peace. Pause before reacting. Let the small disturbances pass. Return, again and again, to your calm, using the slow breath as your steady anchor. Guard the gate of your mind. Refuse to surrender your peace to every passing frustration. Do this today, and tomorrow, and the day after, and slowly it will become who you are. You began this journey learning to release the tension in a single breath. You end it learning to protect a peace that spans your entire life. The healing you sought was never somewhere far away. It was always here, in the next breath, in the next choice, in the quiet decision, made fresh each morning, to choose peace and to protect your calm. Make that choice now, and keep making it, morning after morning, for the rest of your beautiful and healing life. As we come to the end of this journey together, let me remind you of how far the simple choice of peace can carry you. Everything you have learned in these pages comes together in this final practice. The slow breath that releases your tension, the quieting of your racing thoughts, the acceptance of your pain, the forgiveness of yourself, the focus on what you can control, the small daily habits, the kind inner voice, the deep rest, the trust in the process, all of it flows into this one daily choice to wake up and claim peace as your starting point, and then protect it through the day. These are not 10 separate lessons, but one single path, and choosing peace each morning is how you walk it. You do not have to master everything at once. You only have to begin each day by choosing calm, and then use all the tools you have learned to protect that calm as the day unfolds. In time, this daily choice will weave together everything else into a life that is genuinely more peaceful, more resilient, and more whole. And here is the final and most important truth of all. The healing you have been seeking was never something that would come from outside you, delivered by perfect circumstances or a fixed world. The healing was always inside you, in your own choices, your own breath, your own daily decision to choose peace and protect your calm. You are not waiting for someone to heal you. You are learning to heal yourself, one breath, one choice, one morning at a time. This is the most empowering truth there is, because it means your peace does not depend on anyone or anything outside your control. It depends on you, on the choices you make each day, on your willingness to practice these simple things faithfully over time. You have everything you need. You always did. The tools are in your hands now, and the choice is yours to make, this morning and every morning for the rest of your life. So choose peace. Protect your calm. Return to it again and again, as many times as it takes, and trust that through this daily practice, quietly and steadily, you are healing yourself and building a life of genuine and lasting peace. The few minutes it takes to breathe, to choose, to return to calm, are the few minutes that will, over a lifetime, fully heal you and calm your mind. Begin now, and keep beginning, morning after morning, for all the peaceful days ahead.